Relationship advice. Update 2. My female 33, fiancé male 34, found out I pay for my parents' health insurance and said they are financially abusing me. Original post. My fiancé male 34 and I, female 33, have been dating for 3 years and living together for 1. We've been loosely saving to buy a house, and about 2 weeks ago, we decided to sit through our finances and try to draw an actual plan to see if we could save money more consistently and whatnot. As expected, we had a few disagreements on what expenses we should cut, but nothing too big, until he found out I pay for my parents' healthcare insurance, and we have been fighting about it nonstop since then. His main point is that my parents don't need it since our country has universal healthcare, and if they wanted insurance, they could pay it themselves. Although this is true, the public healthcare system is known for being overcrowded, and it can take months until you see a doctor. My dad has diabetes and a heart condition, and I'm afraid he wouldn't get the help he needs fast enough. It's also true they could pay for it, but not without some sacrifice. They're very middle class, and they wouldn't probably anyway because my dad is the stoic type. His refusal to get insurance was the reason me and my brother decided to pay for it ourselves. Fiancé also argues that's unfair to spend so much money on them when we're trying to save everything we can for the house and is cutting all of his extra expenses. But the fact is that, even with insurance, I'm still saving more than him because I earn more. He thinks if I redirect this money to our savings, we could buy our house faster and with less sacrifice, which means he could keep some of the extra money he's putting on the house. I'd rather wait longer if I have to, if it means I can assure better care for my parents if they need it. Plus, that way I'd be paying for more than 2/3 of the house, and I already pay for most of our rent. He thinks I'm being selfish. I think he's being selfish. But what we've been arguing mostly about is he says my parents are taking advantage of me, that they're abusive and controlling of my money, and that I can't start a new family if I don't let go of them and cut the cord. I admit I'm close to my parents. I call them every couple of days, and I used to see them regularly before the pandemic, which fiancé says it proves I'm emotionally dependent on them. But they hardly ask me for money, and I don't pay for anything else except an occasional dinner. He's been sending me articles about helicopter parents and even brought up the time I lived with them as an adult for 2 years. They took me in when I had a major setback at 25 years old and lost my job. When I tell him I don't see that way, he keeps bringing up the fog, which apparently is the inability of abused people to see the acts of the abusers and such. My brother is on my side, but his friends says he's right. I was sure about this, but I don't know anymore. I admit he has some points. Is the fact that my parents don't need the money but I still feel like they do a sign of abuse? He's been also pointing some situations where I reached to them for advice or help as proof that I'm not grown up enough, and even suggested I go non-contact for a while. Not forever. I won't, but I'm starting to feel less inclined to talk to my parents after our arguments. Has anyone been in a situation like this? What did you do? Now for the top advice before reading the first update. I lived with them as an adult for 2 years. They took me in when I had a major setback at 25 years old and lost my job. Your parents had your back when you were in your toughest spot at age 25. That says everything about how much they should mean to you. Your fiancé is talking crazy talk telling you to go no contact with your parents. Plus, that way I'd be paying for more than 2/3 of the house and I already pay for most of our rent. The real issue is your fiancé feels less of an adult with your contributing more financially. I can't start a new family if I don't let go of them and cut the cord. Are you two planning to have children? Is your lifetime goal to have children? Because if you are blindsided by what your fiancé thinks about money, there may be other issues you are overlooking. If having children is your lifetime goal, I advise freezing your eggs to give you more options. The real issue is your fiancé feels less of an adult with your contributing more financially. Yet, he is prepared to allow her to contribute even more financially so that he doesn't have to contribute as much. Girl, this man wants all your money to go towards the savings. You already pay for everything. He wants all the money in the savings. Do not freaking do that. That's a huge setup. You make more than him. He wants the extra money in the joint account. You spend too much money. Do you not see what he's doing? Yikes. You have to watch your back with your husband, since you make more than him. Do you guys have a prenup? We're not married yet. We haven't discussed prenups or anything, but the house is going to be in both of our names. He didn't strike me as a gold digger. He's quite moderate in his spending. But they never do at first, do they? I'll keep that in mind and maybe talk about a prenup after we solve this issue. Thanks. Info. How much does healthcare insurance cost relative to your net income? Info. What is the difference in salary between you two? It does not seem like you're being financially abused. It seems like you recognize that family members help each other. When you lost your job, your parents helped you out. Now it's your turn to help them out. This is not about money for extravagances. This is about health. You should not get married or buy a house together until you are on the same page regarding your finances. I make a bit less than 3 times what he makes, and the insurance costs about 7% of my free income. I don't know how to say it. It's what I get after taxes. It means we may have to save for a bit more time, maybe a year more, if neither of us get any raise. And I would also be fine if he says he doesn't want to put all he can and save some for something he thinks is important. But his issue seems to be more about where the money is going than how much is it. I'm rethinking that after all these comments about him being interested on the money though. Now for the first update. We had agreed on a truce so we could spend holidays in peace, since we were isolated and it was going to just be him and me. Christmas was relatively okay, but the next day my mom sent us some leftovers from their dinner, which turned out to be a full meal that she clearly cooked for us. Fiancé got pissed about it. We argued once again about my parents being controlling. He said they couldn't leave us alone to even have a holiday in peace, and how I wasn't grown up enough to make myself a dinner and my mom had to send food. I'm not a great cook, but I get by and I did make us dinner the night before. I never depended on my mom to feed us. But he brought up other occasions where my mom had sent us food, and that's not something you do for adult children. He also said he can't trust me with the money after what he found out and insinuated he would be the one in charge of our finances once we got married. But he backed off when he saw how mad I got. Long story short, we argued for a couple more days about it, and I ended up leaving the apartment. We didn't officially break up, but it's been several weeks and it looks permanent. He reached out a couple of times to see if I had come to my senses, but every attempt at a talk turned into another argument, and I'm just tired. I rented another place and haven't told anyone about what happened yet, but apparently he did, because I got some nasty messages from a few of his friends. So I guess he already made up his mind. Most of my things are still at the apartment, I hope, so I still have to figure that out. I'm just living day by day. It's hard wrapping my mind around the whole situation because it doesn't make sense to me. It does not seem like a good enough reason to break up a 3-year relationship, but it is what it is. Thanks to everyone who helped me on my original post. I guess you all saw this coming. Edit. Some people came up with the fair point that this is only my POV, which is true, but I don't have a neutral third party to ask about it, because the only people I think know what's happening are my brother and my fiancé's friends. So not really unbiased. But there's an important thing that I left out because I don't want to think is the reason for all of this, but maybe it is. My parents are not my bio parents. My mom is my bio mom's sister, who looked out for us when things got bad at home, until she took my brother and I in when I was a teenager. Bio mom is an addict, in and out of the picture, but mostly out for the past 10 years. I lent her money about 5 years ago, and I know I'm not ever seeing that money back. I know my brother did the same on a couple of occasions. Does that change everything? Most people are saying it's a normal thing for parents to do, but maybe it's not normal if they are not your real parents? Maybe that's what bothers my fiancé. I never ask because I'm afraid of the answer. Also, he knew about the money I gave my bio mom, so he might see it as a pattern of me freely giving money to my family? Just to be clear, he never said any of it, although I think that's what he meant when he said I can't be trusted with money. But I got so mad didn't delve into the subject. I'm very aware that because of my background, I'm prone to be in abusive relationships. I'm just trying to figure out if it's my family or my significant other. I'm also aware I need to go back to therapy. I stopped during COVID. That was a mistake. Now for some advice before reading the final update. He reached out a couple of times to see if I had come to my senses. Answer should be, yes, we're done. Yep, up along with being a good girl. This is a typical abuser language. You make 2/3 of the income, make most of the bills, and he can't trust you with money? The only person here who is being financially abusive or controlling is him. He is trying to cut you off from normal and healthy relationships in an effort to control you. He sure as hell is not entitled to tell you what to spend your money on when you already pay more than half the bills. If he comes back, kick his behind to the curb. You do not need that kind of abusive, controlling person in your life. There is nothing wrong with a parent sending their child food either. My mom used to send me home with things she cooked for me, and she even made food for my brother and his wife. Frozen casserole so they had a break once in a while. She didn't dictate how or when we should eat it. I bet he's pissed you were paying most of the bills. For Pete's sake. Now for the final update. So last time people were very nice, reaching out and opening my eyes to the situation, and they brought up a lot of things I wasn't thinking about. So I thought you deserve some closure, even if it's not a very positive one. I tried to solve the old apartment issue first, because as some people guessed, I was still paying for it, mostly to avoid a conversation. I texted him asking for a good time to go over and pick up my stuff and talk about financial agreements. He called me immediately and asked if I was breaking up with him. Like, you did it already? So we started arguing over the phone, until he suggested I come over so we could settle things properly. So I went by myself. Such a good idea. Surprising nobody. Talking in person didn't change anything, and we kept fighting just the same. Except he was becoming more and more aggressive because I was standing my ground in us breaking up. He said some pretty harsh and defensive things, which he never did before. And it hurt, but only confirmed my decision. Until he said that he talked to my brother about us, and that totally set me off. He said my brother agreed with him that my parents were overbearing and even agreed to back off for a while to let me grow up. I guess he thought that having my brother on his side would convince me he was right. It was such an obvious lie, but I was suddenly filled with utter terror that my brother shared his opinion about me, or would want to get away from me, or I don't know. I knew it wasn't true, but at the same time, the mere idea of a world where this would happen completely shattered me. I don't know. Anyway, I started to hyperventilating while he was talking, and since I was unable to respond, he just went on and on about how things were going to work from now on, and worse things I don't want to repeat. At some point, I just dissociated, like I used to when I was a kid and the abuse got really bad, and can't remember almost anything after that. All I remember was pressing the phone on my face really hard. Apparently, I called sister-in-law at her work and didn't say anything, so she sent my brother to check on me, and he took me to the hospital. I'm getting better now, but I'm having a lot of PTSD episodes. Mostly, I'm having a hard time accepting how he could be so manipulative, and I never knew. My brother and sister-in-law think he set me off on purpose, as he knew my past and all my triggers. I don't want that to be true, but I have a flash of memory where I'm crawling away from him because I couldn't speak, and he just sort of laughed and kept talking. I know memories from dissociative episodes can't be trusted though. I finally went to the older apartment over the weekend again with my brother and his friends and took everything that's mine. My ex was nowhere to be seen, and it looked like he hasn't been over in a while. This week I'll talk to the landlord about the rent, and my brother is helping me deal with our joint account. We don't have anything else connecting us, so I think that's it. I've been on medication, which I hate, but I like to think I've overcome worse scenarios. I guess at the end, my ex kind of had a point about me being emotionally dependent on my family. He just missed the target. Thanks to everyone who gave advice and tried to help. I won't be updating this anymore. Now for closing comments. I'm so sorry he treated you like that. Give your sister-in-law and brother and especially your parents a hug as soon as it's safe. You should feel proud you stood up so well. Stood up for yourself and for your family. Your ex had no point about you being dependent. He was just trying to bring you down and isolate you. Having family to lean on during a difficult time like this is a completely natural thing to do. None of those things he said had any basis in reality. I'm very sorry this happened to you, but you're already moving on and doing a great job. You are stronger than you think. Good luck. I read all of your posts, and I'm so glad you have such a strong and supportive family structure. I'm also glad you didn't let that little turd ruin your relationship with your amazing supportive family. I hope things get better for you from here. Thank you so much. I hope so too. My brother and sister-in-law think he set me off on purpose, as he knew my past and all my triggers. And he was laughing at one point? He's a sociopath. File a restraining order now. Well, I can't be sure about that. I don't have a clear memory about it. My first thought is that it was a fight that got out of hand. He hasn't contacted me ever since. Now for the last story. Father-in-law is living with us. It's driving me crazy and slowly destroying my family life and my mental health. Bit of background. Me, female 30, live with my long-term partner, male 30, and our little boy. My partner's parents moved back from abroad last year, and they were staying with my partner's brother, sorting out where they were going to live. And then in October last year, they had a huge fight and decided that they were going to separate. My partner's brother chucked his dad out and allowed his mom to stay. And we were not given any choice but to take his dad in. I have never really got on with his dad, and I didn't want his dad to stay with us as I knew that things would end up how they are now. His dad has savings and a small income, so could afford to rent a small place somewhere, but my partner would not let his dad do this. I was so overruled when I said that I didn't want him to stay. My partner said that as soon as his dad gets a job, he can find somewhere to live. But he is being unrealistic in the jobs he wants to get. His dad has now been with us for 4 months, and there has been mounting problems ever since. His dad is very controlling. He has tried to take over all the day-to-day running of the house, which I have kicked back at, as it is not his house. I'm not against him helping out, but not to take full control. His dad also likes to stay up for the majority of the night, so sleeps until at least midday. Luckily, my son is still able to go to nursery during the week, but we have to try, I don't bother anymore, to keep him quiet at the weekend so my partner's dad can sleep. He undermines us constantly with our little one. For example, we will ask our little one to do something, or he will be in the process of doing something, and my partner's dad will distract him or try to get him to do something else. He will tell our son not to listen to mommy and daddy. He will also get our son to break the rules, such as no throwing balls in the house, no sliding down the stairs, and other things like that. He has also got a thing about our son being underweight. Our son is not underweight. He is a healthy, very active, petite kid who eats loads. However, he is trying to take on a role of getting our son to eat. I am furious, and have discussed this with my partner, and he doesn't see it as a problem. But I am so annoyed, as it is not his father's place to do anything. So ultimately, I am frustrated, angry, feel like I'm being judged constantly in my parenting skills by his father. My mental health is suffering. My relationship with my partner and my child is suffering. I feel like I can't be the mom I want to be, as I constantly feel anxious and on edge. I feel uncomfortable in my own home. I don't feel like I can relax. I have spoken to my partner a few times now about it, and he just tries to blow me off most of the time, and that he doesn't understand where I'm coming from. That a lot of it is just in my head. That his dad is trying to find a job, etc., etc. It came to a head last night where we had another massive argument about it. I don't think I can even be in the same room as his dad anymore, as I don't think I can control myself, as I just want to tell him to get out of my house. It has got to the point where if I never see my partner's father ever again, it wouldn't bother me. So where do I go from here? I have thought about leaving, but I don't want to leave my child or uproot my child from a normally fun and loving home. Now for the top advice before reading the little update. Sit down with Hubs with father around. Tell Hubs you can't live this way. If you have family you can stay with, take the baby and go relax for a bit. Get a hotel if you need to. Let Hubs know you will be back when father-in-law leaves. Father-in-law doesn't plan to leave, and I think you have a sense about that too. The fact that you weren't even asked and shut down several times about him to leave isn't okay. Also, this isn't a loving, fun home. Baby has a mother whose mental health is suffering. Baby has a grandfather who undermines mom at every turn. The fact that you weren't even asked and shut down several times about him to leave isn't okay. Yeah, that would be such a major deal breaker for me. Her wishes were totally ignored in a marriage. Sounds like the husband is an a-hole that doesn't care about her opinion. You don't have to go through this. You are a second-class citizen in your own home, like a child with no say. On the top of that, your authority as a parent is being demolished, which is very bad for the kid. And your role as an equal in the house is gone. For all that, I'd tell your husband that you can't take it anymore, and that if by Friday morning father-in-law is not out, then you and the kid will be out. No need to make a big scene. Just as calmly as you can inform him of your decision. Whatever he says, you just say, yes, but if he's not gone by Friday morning, we are leaving, and try to kill the conversation. Why? Because your husband doesn't listen to words anymore, and therefore you should start talking him through actions. So if Friday morning you wake up and father-in-law is still there, you don't argue, you don't get into any debate, you don't make a scene. Pack a bag and go. You have no other option. Living like this is hell. He is making you do this, basically. This will not change until you leave. You can't give an ultimatum. You can't even have a conversation. You need to leave. It is possible that your partner, odd word in a relationship where your mate treats you like the maid, will come to his senses until you have gone. He will never make the right choice about his father if you don't. Update. Just wanted to thank you all for the replies. My current plan of action is to get some legal advice regarding custody of my child, and also about our house as we have joint ownership, but we are not married. Once I know where I stand when it comes to this, I will sit down with my partner and discuss everything covered in this and how it has and is affecting me and our son. Then give him an ultimatum that his father needs to move out in 30 days, or me and our son will be moving out and not returning until his father is gone. My mom lives locally and has said that we can stay for a month or two while we find somewhere more permanent if required. Also, that some sort of couples counseling will be on the cards too. Thanks everyone. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
A-hole for not allowing my daughter to wear her late mom's wedding dress, even though I let my other daughter wear it? I want to explain this as clearly as I can. I have 4 kids, oldest daughter, middle daughter, my son, and youngest daughter. And this story is about my middle child, Abby, not real name. Abby has had a hard life with drugs, and it hurt our family in many ways. When she first went to college, she seemed excited about her future. But by the end of her first semester, she came back an addict. Soon after, she dropped out, and things got worse. My late wife and I tried to get her into rehab many times, but she would always leave on the very first day. Her ties with the rest of the family quickly fell apart. By the time she turned 20, we made the painful choice to kick her out of the house. Not long after, my wife got cancer. At that point, we stopped giving Abby money because every cent needed to go toward treatment. Abby became angry and one day broke into our home. She stole heirlooms from my wife's mother and left the doors open so that our 2 cats escaped. We never saw them again. That broke my wife's heart, and after that, her health went downhill faster. Before she passed, my wife was very clear. She said Abby had already taken her share when she stole and sold her things. She told me to make sure Abby did not get anything else. Not money, not belongings, not even something to borrow. I promised I would respect her wishes. When my wife died, Abby did not even come to the funeral. Abby is 26 now and has been clean for a year. Recently, she called me to say she's getting married next year. During the call, she asked if she could wear her mom's wedding dress. I told her no. She got upset and said it was unfair because her older sister wore the dress at her wedding last year. She said she was her mother's daughter too and deserved the same chance. I reminded her that she already had many things from her mom, but chose to sell them for drug money. I also told her that her mother's last words on this were very clear. Abby was not to get anything else. Abby argued that I am punishing her for her past and that she has changed. She said it is wrong to keep the dress from her when she is trying to build a better life. I do not know what the right answer is. My other children don't speak to her anymore. Because of this, I cannot ask them for advice. So I need to hear an outside view. Am I wrong for not letting Abby wear her mother's wedding dress even though she says she is clean and starting fresh? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. What has she done to earn back any form of trust? Yes, she's sober. But sobriety doesn't mean your relationship goes back to how it was. She robbed you, straight up. She stole several items with huge sentimental value from her mother. Why trust her with one of the few things you have left to share with her siblings? Don't let her have the dress. I doubt she would do anything to it. I don't believe her to be evil, but it's the principle. She doesn't deserve to wear something of such importance to your family. She did send out apology letters. I don't know how to feel about mine since it wasn't the best apology. I am low contact and see her maybe every 6 months, so I am trying to build up a relationship again, but it is hard. I don't trust her at all. If she wasn't my kid, I 100% would not speak to her again. Go with your gut. If you don't trust her, don't let her have the dress. It's as simple as that. She hasn't earned your trust back yet, and your wife was crystal clear. Abby took her inheritance early. She gets nothing else. Period. I think you're right. I can't risk it, especially since if the dress disappears, then my youngest daughter won't be allowed to have the option for her own wedding. Nope, you are following your late wife's wishes. She would absolutely not want Abby to wear that dress. I would tell Abby that once she returns everything she stole or pawned during her addict phase, she gets nothing of her mother's. I've spent so many years trying to track down the stuff. I have found 2 out of the collection, and they will be going to my 2 other daughters. I feel really bad for my son because he literally has nothing of hers. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to listen to my stepmother's hurt feelings about my mom being present for my son's birth but not her? I, 29 female, recently gave birth to my first child, and my mom stood in for my husband, 28 male, as my birthing partner because while I was in labor, he was admitted to the hospital over medical complications he's been dealing with. We knew this was a possibility, so I asked my mom months ago if she would mind being there. My husband was with me through a screen, which wasn't the same, but I still had my support there. My mom and mother-in-law also stayed with us for several weeks after our son was born to help us out. My husband especially needed the help, and I was grateful to both of our moms for doing this for us. My stepmother was upset when she learned that my mom was present at my son's birth, and she was also upset that my mom and mother-in-law were staying, but she wasn't asked. When she and my dad visited, she attempted to cry about it to me and my husband, but I encouraged my husband to ignore her and get up and leave, which is exactly what I did. Every time she opened her mouth about it, I was out of there. This was after I told her to stop, and that she had no right to be there, even if she felt like she had. We didn't let her and Dad stay with us, but they lived close enough to start visiting daily, which they did at her insistence. She kept trying to make me feel bad, and I kept refusing to listen. One day last week, she told me I was cruel to dismiss her feelings so heartlessly, and I should know that after all the years of being my second mom, she'd be hurt badly by this. Some context on the family for those who need it. My parents divorced when I was 2, and my dad married my stepmother. I always use the formal stepmother versus the less formal stepmom. My stepmother expected to become my other mother, and started this very one-sided competition for it. She was always trying to make me split Mother's Day with Mom and her, and she would forever annoy me about doing Mother's Day activities together, even when she had kids of her own with my dad. When I was 12, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and Dad and my stepmother swooped in and insisted I stay with them until Mom was better. They made her feel so bad for keeping 50-50 that she relented, but only with a written agreement in place that I would be back to 50-50 once her treatment stopped. Unfortunately, that took 3 years because she had many complications along the way. During that time, my stepmother would always make it clear that she was there and not my mom, that she was dealing with the toughest child-raising ages. She put pressure on me to appreciate her for stepping up while Mom was sick. And she always made digs about how she didn't need a break from raising me and stuff, which felt so disgusting to me back then and still to this day. It was predatory the way she was around that. My mom was fighting for her life, and this woman tried to steal me as her daughter and attempted to paint herself as the better person because she was able to do more. I didn't appreciate her for it. In fact, I grew to hate her. My dad and I had a lot of fights about it and the pressure he and that woman put on Mom. It's something he apologized for and has attempted to make up for. He hasn't fully, but I still love him, and Mom said a part of her understands because she didn't want me to feel obligated to care for her while she was sick either. He even accepted me living full-time with Mom after she got better, and I would visit him some weekends. My stepmother hated it, but I ignored that because to me she had no say over my life. She was not my real parent. She was not someone I respected. And she was only in my life as long as my dad is, or as long as she's married to him. After my stepmother called me cruel last week, I told her she was not welcome in my home anymore and we would have very limited contact for a while. because I was not listening to her complain about the birth anymore. I said I had my mom and my child's other grandmother there, and she had no business insisting she should be there. I said her feelings are her own to deal with, not mine. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You gave birth, not a popularity contest award. And boundaries aren't optional. Having a baby is about your comfort, not her feelings. Period. Not the a-hole, but your father's wife? Big a-hole. And your father? Also an a-hole for the way he let her behave around you and treat you while your mother literally fought for her life. This woman is vile. Sorry, not sorry. She deserves a special place in hell if there is one. To act like a person battling illness is somehow an awful parent because they're tired and don't have the capability to do as much is evil. I always thought that. I sure hope if she ever gets sick, she has people willing to be kind because I won't be helping her. I'm honestly surprised you let her in your home at all after what she did to your mother. She is not someone I would have any relationship with at all. I only have her in my life because of my dad. But trust me, I am asking myself if it's worth it, and if I'll continue to allow either in. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars? My sister borrowed money from me almost a year ago for her husband's surgery and health care. They couldn't afford it, so when my sister asked me for financial help, I was hesitant. But I helped her because she's my sister, and helping her husband would mean helping her as well. I told her back then that I was hesitant, but I would help. She said she'd return the money in 3 months, but she didn't, and I didn't ask her either. So now I brought it up again. I wasn't planning on asking her to return the money, but her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My wife has small scars on her hand. It's not serious, just small scars she inflicted on herself when she was 15. I was with her back then and put a stop to it. We are both 27 now, and my brother-in-law made fun of my wife when he asked her if she's still childish and told her to cover up her hands because it's unpleasant for everyone. Both of our families were speechless, and my wife was as well. I said when we are young, we do dumb things, and he was too drunk, so he should just shut up. He got a bit more aggressive and said that it's still unpleasant, and my wife should cover up. I retaliated in my anger and told him that my wife would start covering her scars when he gives me my money back. To be honest, I get angry easily, and I wanted to insult him. My wife was holding me back to stop me, but I told her to shut up. I ended up telling him that he's a poor man and weak, who couldn't even afford his own surgery and had his wife beg for money from her brother. He got even angrier and said he would give me my money. I said, do it right now, but you can't because you can't even walk properly. Our families were interfering, and my sister was crying. I shut my mouth because I didn't want my sister to cry. Since then, my sister has been asking me to apologize because I hurt his ego, and he's in a foul mood and depressed. I told my sister that I will never apologize, and he needs to apologize to my wife. I also told her that both of them owe me money, and I want it back as soon as possible. And I don't care if they are poor. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Okay, telling your wife to shut up is not okay, but I also get the fact that you were defending her and wanted to hurt him. I get the anger when it comes to protecting family. When someone goes low on my family, I scrape the barrels of hell. Exactly this. The shut up part was not cool, but emotions were running high and you reacted in the moment. When someone disrespects family like that, especially in such a cruel way, it's hard not to go for the jugular. Totally get where you're coming from. Not the a-hole. It is difficult to overcome the stigma of self-harm scars. I have many, and they're covered in various ways. If someone mocked my inability to manage my life, I think it would break me again. No matter how old I get, my attachment to living is tenuous at best. My husband, light of my life, knows this, and can be very, very protective. It doesn't matter who it is, he will absolutely fight for me. You are not in the wrong. Your wife will always need you in her corner. Remind your family that the things that can drive you to self-harm can happen instantaneously. Make them remember that. Take from them the same dignity and respect they took from your wife. I stopped covering mine up. Let them stare. I survived things most of the people staring can't even comprehend. I survived my own mind trying to kill me on a daily basis. Every time someone makes a mean remark about my scars, I either give them a long, disdainful stare or ask them if they feel better now, because the comments say more about the people commenting than they do about you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for insisting my husband calls our daughter by her given name? Me, 30 female, and my husband, 35 male, have been together for close to 5 years, married for 2, and just had our first daughter, Hana. I am from Japan. My husband is European, and this will be important for the story. Before Hana was born, my husband and I had several long discussions about names. My husband was very vocal about wanting to name our first daughter Lily. He said he always loved the name and always imagined a potential daughter named Lily. I like the name, but I grew up in Japan. Because of that, I'm not able to pronounce some Western sounds properly, L being one of the worst. I told my husband I felt uncomfortable about giving our daughter a name I would be unable to pronounce properly. He was disappointed, and we talked about it multiple times. He suggested I could try speech therapy, which I was prickly about because I don't feel like I have a speech impediment. It's just the way I was raised. Eventually, we agreed on the name Hana, which is also a flower name, and he seemed happy enough about it. Long story short, now that all 3 of us are home from the hospital, I caught my husband calling our daughter Lily when they're alone. He never calls her that when other people are around, only when it's just the 2 of them. When I confronted him about it, he laughed and said it's just a private nickname, and that a lot of people grow up being called by multiple names. I feel that he's needlessly confusing our infant child, and more importantly, I feel like he's breaking our promise when we agreed on not calling her that. I also feel a little betrayed that he's calling her a name I'm genuinely unable to pronounce properly. Am I the a-hole? Am I blowing this out of proportion? Or am I in the right here? Legally, my name is Brendan. I go by Max. In my case, it started the same way. My dad really wanted to name me Brendan. My mom really wanted to name me Max, as there's no Polish equivalent to the other name. My dad got his way. Legally, I'm Brendan. My mother would just call me Max anyway. As time went on, by kindergarten, I just started responding to Max more than the other name. All my friends, family, classmates, co-workers now know me as Max. Growing up, this could make roll call at school a bit confusing, as I was put down as Brendan. In my early 20s, I found it a bit confusing to know when to use which name for forms and paperwork. I tried going as Brendan in my mid-20s, so now a couple of relationships I started in that time period still know me by that name. Like my doctor, my personal trainer, and a few co-workers at one particular job site, I've since reverted back to Max. It hasn't caused me any significant hardships, other than minor annoyances here and there. But despite what a huge chunk of the thread is saying, yes, there's a chance that she'll just choose Lily as her functional name at some point. I am curious why the husband is dead set on this name though, to the point he does not care his wife cannot pronounce it. Maybe she married Severus Snape, LOL.